All right. So we were talking about on last week about psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. And we were looking at the relationship of music in our introduction of music, symphonia. We were looking at the relationship of that music as far as its relationship to the church and its effect upon the church, about how music affects the individuals as well as the church as a whole, and how that music is supposed to be influential as far as we are with church, because it makes a difference on music, what type of music we listen to, what type of music we hear, what type of music we're influenced by. And we had a great discussion last week about the influence of music upon individuals, because that's the thing throughout this we want to focus on, because we were looking at Lucifer being created with pipes coming out of him, about the music creation that he had and what he had done as far as music, and then how he took it after he had been cast out of heaven, how he took it and corrupted it and made music in such a way that it corrupts. It's not good. It's not good for you. It's not going to enhance you, not going to make you well. But the Bible only promotes 3 different types of music: psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. That's the only 3 from Genesis to Revelation that you will see promoted by the Bible. So we're going to look at certain things of instruments. We're not going to look at words. We're going to look at the instruments that were used in the Bible. Because I know that there are certain classifications of churches that do not believe in music. And they say that music is not biblical. That there is no playing, and I can tell you at least 100 scriptures that speak of playing of musical instruments, even with the establishment of the tabernacle, even before the temple. In the tabernacle, there were instruments, and those instruments were used for playing. Even before words were put to them, they used instruments to play. So we're going to look at some of that, and we're going to look at some of this instrumentation, and we're going to see its effect upon the people of God at that time. I'm going to read to you a couple of things and look at how these things are affected as far as music was concerned. Instrumental music. So in our modern society, instrumental music is quite prevalent. While a majority of popular music has lyrics, instrumental music in the form of concert band music, orchestra music, or band music in general is growing in popularity. While the vast majority of written music throughout history has been lyrical in nature, more and more music without lyrics is being written, mostly to serve growing public school music education classes as far as concert, marching bands, things of that nature. Musicians that perform in these ensembles, as well as those who attend the concerts, are very well of this one human truth, as it has been for centuries. While the human voice can express extreme passion, instruments influence the emotion. Instruments influence the emotion. And when I saw that, I was like, that's what I'm talking about. I wanted to really get into that with the instruments, because certain instruments invoke emotion. And when you look at it, as far as it's going all the way back to the temple, you can see the influence of music as its influence upon people individually, and how instruments evoke certain emotions. Remember, we were talking about David with Saul, and how Saul would get into them thing where the demons were all over him and he looking all crazy, and David would come in and play the harp, and it said the demons came out of him. It wasn't that he just soothed his conscience. No, it said demons came out of him. That musical instrument, that sound coming from that instrument invoked that the demons would come out of. There was no lyrics or any singing, just the playing of the music invoked in such a way that the demons would come out of Saul. So we're looking at the emotion of instruments, how instruments make an emotional change in individuals. And because of it, most of the time when you listen to music, even when you were in the world, you were listening to the beat, the rhythm.
That's right.
You would get into it when you boom, boom, especially the bass drum. The bass drum or the bass guitar has the most influence in music because it mocks your heartbeat. When I'm telling this from my years of experience playing music, being in orchestra, being in band, being in a jazz band, everything, of the play that it does. And I play tenor saxophone. So, we were in the rhythm section. And you were coupled with the bass guitar, and you were coupled with the drummer. And the drummer held the rhythm. And when they hit that bass drum, it mocked your heartbeat. So they speed that bass drum up, boom, 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 boom. And you heard that. We were playing the timpani. It mocked your heart. You would accelerate. If we really wanted to rattle the crowd, really wanted to get them going, we really hit that bass drum, and we hit it fast. And the faster it goes, the more fever we're into the crowd. You can control the emotion. Same thing. If I want, as we were talking about last week, if I want some love music, sweet love, I don't want them playing a boom, 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 boom. I want to go slow. Boom, 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 boom. That's what I want. Because, see, that's what I'm looking for. I want it nice and slow. Absolutely. Because that's what we want. We want to slow down the heart rate. We want to slow down the emotion. Instruments is what does that. Instrumentation is what is played that has an influence as far as that's concerned. And that's what we're going to look at in the church, how it influences individual states, how it influences the church. Because individuals make up the church.
That's right.
So music has a great, great influence. And here these instruments, it was founded back in, like I said, the beginning, when they first started going into the tabernacle and making of the tabernacle. Then they went into the temple and the making of the temple. These instruments could be found. The first instrument that they dealt with was the cymbal. This was one of the first instruments that was brought forth. Now, if I could spell, that'd be all right. And there's two types of cymbals. You got the cymbal, that's the large cymbal. And then you have the high sounding cymbal. There's a difference. You hear the difference? That's what they used to do when they played. They would have different cymbals of different sizes. They have cymbals that were small enough to fit right into your hand. And they would clap their hands with the cymbals in their hand. And they would have a thing that would fit around your finger. And you would clap your hand. And it would make a noise. But it was just a small. But then they had these big cymbals that when you crash them together, and you see them out in marching bands all the time, it's the high sounding cymbals. They make the big old sound. Because it was resounding sound. And that sound, when you heard it, would make a difference in the way of praise, the way of worship. When you heard